How's everybody doing?
Better knowing that you're here.
I'm here. I exist.
Living, living.
Living. Be you, John. It's me and John holding the room down. Okay. So, so I have you all. I don't know if you all realize this. I have you all up on the main screen so people in class can see that as well. You're welcome to log into the Zoom as well, like if you have headphones. And that way, it's not like it's whatever you're most comfortable with. Um, okay. Character animation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Character animation. Um, okay, so you all kind of got the short end of the stick in terms of preparedness on my end. Basically, what I did is I sat down and started putting together the D2L page, and I started doing it in the other section of the class, right? So I got all the content ready for that, and because I'm perpetually late at everything, that means your D2L page was empty until probably about 10:30 this morning. But it should have everything in it now. So I apologize for that. It was basically to keep me from having to make every change twice. I can import it from one to the other. So I wanted to get it as close as I could. So if you haven't logged into D2L, now would be a good time to do that. Actually, a lot of what we're going to be going over today is in that. So I have the class kind of broken up into two tasks today, right? One is to go over sort of the overview of the class. There are a lot of people who this semester has been really interesting to me. Is that there's a lot of people on this class list who in between this class and the other class that I've either never had in class, or if I did, it was an online class because they were in my Principles of Animation class. So I've never even seen their face. like, so this has been an interesting semester for me. Like John, were you in my principal's class? So this is the first time. Who else? This is their first time taking a class with me. Ramona, you seem new. I'm sorry, I'm picking at you. Ramona's taken all of the classes with me.
That's a lie. I didn't take principal classes with you.
Oh, I guess not. Yeah,
I took them with Osteen.
yeah.
I had
Um,
the online principles class with you as well, Greg.
what was that, Nathan?
I had the online principles class with you, but I've never had an in-person class as well.
That's what I was thinking. John Thomas. Like, I don't know that. Have you been in any of my classes before?
No, sir, I don't think I have.
Okay, I didn't think so. And Zach Holtzcall. Have you? I can't remember if you ever. Oh yeah, yeah. I couldn't remember if you had or not. So okay. Joshua Kahn, I think you may have been in one of my online classes, right?
No, I haven't. I've never had one with you before.
Oh, you're actually really kind of quiet. I missed you there.
I haven't had any with you before.
Okay, cool. And Zach, I had you last semester. Is that correct? Wait, is that the same Zach? Yes. So, although I had you, I don't think you had a camera, so I still don't know what you look like. So, I think I may have gotten everybody. Allison, have you?
I haven't had class with you before. This is my first time.
Okay. And Gracie, I know you, and I think you were in my principal's class. And is that correct, or were you in? Do I just know you from midpoint? Oh, I couldn't hear you on that one, Gracie. Mic not working. Yeah. Yes, I thought you were in my POA. I was pretty sure you were. Okay. Oh, it's interesting because usually I'll have POA, but then I'll also have midpoint, and then midpoint I see all the names, um, but I can't remember if I know that name from midpoint or if I know that name from my online class. It's just I'm an old man. I'm getting old and I'm forgetful. My eyebrows are getting bushy. It's weird. Being old's weird. Anyway, um, so what I'd like to do is, since there are so many people who have never really had a class with me, or who've had this is really strange because like this is a high level class. Like this is technically like a 4,000 level class, and so there's some of you that I've like not gotten to work with before, and that's really kind of only happening in the last few semesters. A lot of because Laura Osteen teaches a lot of the 2,000 level classes. Maybe you had some with Sarit as well, like 3D animation or something like that. So it's interesting to just now be getting to work with a lot of you. So I could take it to, oh, cool. Well, so that's actually really beneficial, Gracie. And we'll be talking about that. So there's a lot of people in here who are taking this class for a second time. And it's not in the way you think that they failed it the first time. It's that this class is repeatable, right? You can take it actually up to 3 times if you get it worked out in your schedule correctly. If you take it the first time, it's character animation. If you take it the second time, it's like character animation 2, right? It's like advanced character animation or intermediate, right? And if you take it a third time, it's like advanced character animation. So I know that there's a handful of people who have taken it at least a second or third time. So who is in the class for the second time?
Hi.
Okay, Ramona, Dylan.
Me.
Were you? I thought. This
Oh,
was,
wait, never mind.
you're thinking 3D animation, aren't you? John, were you in it before?
Which one?
Other John, Stanley.
No, I was in your 3D animation last semester.
Oh, this is interesting. So, and Katie, you were in character before, right?
No, I never got a chance to take it.
Okay. I think I'm getting 2D animation confused with that one. Okay. So we are. So this is an interesting class. Because it's repeatable, that means people who are taking it the first time and the second time, and even a third time, are all in the same room together, right? And that being said, we, if you're taking it a second time, you're not just doing the class again. Like you're getting different assignments, you're getting different things that you'll be focusing on. And so that means we got a little bit of extra stuff to kind of cover today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is the screen. We'll be talking about this part later. For right now, let's go into this. So I wanted to quickly kind of go over our syllabus and some of the other elements of this class relatively quickly, right? I don't want to belabor the syllabus too much. So if you're in D2L, go hop in there. A lot of what you'll notice right here in the course info, got our syllabus, we got our schedule, we got a syllabus receipt. We'll talk about that here in a minute. This is in the wrong place. I'll be moving that. And then we have a couple of Zoom links. So I have 2 different Zoom meeting rooms, right? We have our classroom Zoom, and then we also have office hours, open office hours, which is basically 4 times a week I will be in a different Zoom meeting room from my office or from my home or wherever I am. And that's where you can drop by without having to schedule an appointment or anything. You just drop by to ask questions maybe it's about the project, maybe it's some of you are in portfolio this semester, whatever it is, that's when you would drop by and we can discuss that stuff. And so that's just open time. We'll kind of get into that a little bit more. There's also a Discord that Michael Regan set up for all of my classes. And so some of you are probably already in there just from previous classes. If you're not, that's the link to add it. Hop in, and it's more of just a casual place. It's not required for anybody, but it's a good place to share ideas, to share thoughts, to share like information, links, and stuff like that. Also in the resources, I have several other Discords that are ETSU Discords, Edge, Digital Media for Dummies, ETSU Gaming Communities. Ramona is one of the officers of Edge, and I think in my other section is Bradley. I think he's the president.
You're forgetting one other person.
I'm forgetting.
Gracie Ponder, who was
yes.
in our class.
Yes, that's right.
I will not accept you throwing her under the bus,
I
Craig.
know. It took me a second. I was like, I know there's another one. I just hadn't combed through the list yet. So
You're good.
So they can promote Edge a little bit there, but you definitely should I'll be honest, the Edge, all the Discords are good. The Edge Discord is probably the one I am the most active in. But it also seems like it's pretty, like there's a lot of people talking in that one. There's a lot of stuff going on in that. So like it's definitely worth building that community. It's also really helpful in stuff like, portfolio is coming up and you may forget, and then somebody will be like, hey, portfolio's tonight, don't forget, here's the link. And it's just a nice way to keep up with stuff. So speaking of that, Ramona, Gracie, we sometime here in the next little while, I'd like to sit down with you and chat about some Edge stuff. Ramona, I know we were kind of messaging about that. So, but I do want to keep that on a front burner in my brain because it has a tendency to get swept onto a back burner in the first few weeks, and then I'm constantly playing catch up. So I'd like to get ahead of that one if I could. So, okay, chat. Okie dokie. Okay. So let's go back to course info. I always say I don't want to read you the syllabus, and then I feel like I still spend too long on the syllabus, so I'm going to try to be brief on this. In looking through it last class period, I did find a couple of little typos and errors. I'm going to go back and fix those. But let's go ahead and expand this out so we can see it full screen. There we go. So basic info, you know which class this is, character animation. This is the syllabus for section 1 and 2. My office is downstairs, but again, email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. This phone number that is listed here is my office phone number. I very rarely get real phone calls on that number. One second. I sent you all a email right before, or this morning. And in that email, I think I put my phone number in there. That's my cell phone number. I would not have given you that number if I were not okay with you using it, right? So a lot of people will they're really cautious about texting me, but anything like you're going to be late for class, hey, can we meet up sometime? I have a question for you. It's fine to use that number whenever you need to text me. I'll be honest, I rarely answer phone calls on that phone either. Really, my phone is just a little text machine and a place for me to look at Twitter. But
the cool kids use Greg's phone number.
Exactly.
So be a cool kid.
Exactly. But that is absolutely feel free to contact me on that whenever you need anything. In fact, that's how I knew Taylin was going to be late. She sent me a message last night and said she was going to be late. Obviously, I'm only really doing ETSU stuff from about 8 to 5 is usually my daily schedule. So if you're messaging me at 9 o'clock, I'm fine to, we'll chat, I'll answer any questions. But if you're like, hey, can we meet and do a quick Zoom feedback? Really, I try to stay away from the computer after 5. That way I can have some non-screen time, or at least different screen time, like watching Schitt's Creek or something like that. Have y'all watched that? That's actually a really good show. We've burned through the last 4 seasons in a couple of weeks. It's really good. Also, Discovery of Witches was okay. Well, that's season 1 so far. So, what did you all do on your break? Sorry. I mentioned the office hours, right? As it is right now, this is the link to the office hours. It's just a Zoom meeting. I'm basically going to log in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday during these times. And whoever shows up in that room too, we can chat. I can help you with whatever you're needing help with. This is for all my classes. It'll also end up going out to people for midpoint, portfolio, and stuff like that. And so what will happen is people will log in, and there'll be like 4 people in the room or something, and it'll kind of be first come, first serve. Like I'll help everybody work through their stuff, and and it'll hopefully work very similarly to how it worked all right last semester, to how it would work if I were here in person and like people just stopped by the office to have to ask a question, or maybe they just stopped by the office to chat, like just to be like, hey, how's it going? How was your break? All of that's fine. That's what that room is for that open time for check-ins, to talk about whatever it is you need to. For the people who are in portfolio this semester, that's probably the easiest time stop in and set up a meeting. But if for some reason you don't have, none of those times work or whatever reason, if you need to schedule another time, just send me a text message. Fridays I haven't put on here because that's usually, that's when faculty have a tendency to randomly schedule meetings. And so I didn't want to have a time planned for my open office hours when somebody else is just going to schedule a meeting on top of it, right? But I can usually still meet on Fridays. It just kind of, we have to work out the time, during that day. So, meetings and locations. So you already know where we're meeting. I will say that this is an important element of this. As somebody asked earlier, like you can pick and choose how you want to do this class. Like if John's here today, but if tomorrow he's like, nah, I'm going to stay at home and do the class from there, but Dylan decides he wants to come in tomorrow, that's fine. I will continue to be in here anyway because my previous class is in here as well. It's still pretty relatively unpopulated here in the building. So like there's enough room for people to social distance, but by all means, like do what you feel safest, most comfortable doing. I have a feeling this like hybrid model is actually going to be something that, really, like, what's the excuse to not do this in the future, right? If people are like, I can't come in, can I just join by Zoom? Like, really, there's not a lot of reason to not, right? But you can pick and choose how you want to do that, and as the semester changes, if you decide you want to come in, that's great. If you decide coming in is too much work and you want to wear your pajamas, that's fine. 4 credit hours. So all of this next section, course description, course goals, objectives, topics, just sums up really that what this class is about is animating characters, right? Which should be self-explanatory, right? Recognize that it's named very specifically. It's not like character art. It's not character, like we're not going to be modeling any characters. We're not going to be rigging any characters. We're going to take rigs that already exist and we're going to animate them. It's also worth mentioning, I think that we have several people in this class who are interested in doing 2D animation. That is completely open for all of the projects. You could potentially do the entire class as a 2D animation class if you'd like.
Potentially, meaning should.
Sure. So which one are you opting for, Ramona? 2D or 3D? I'm just picking it.
You know the answer by now.
Yeah. But again, like what this is about is learning how to make characters like come to life, right? How to move the characters around in an intuitive and a believable way that is appealing, that is fun to watch, has personality, right? And that's more than one class is capable of delivering, right? So I know it sounds like, oh, but I'd also like to rig my own character and model my own character. I'm like, that's great. That's more than we can shove into this class, right? In fact, that's why it's repeatable, is because a lot of people will do all the content of this class and then decide they want to dive deeper into one of these specific focuses, and this is where you can jump in there and start to, like focus on like creature animation or game animation a little more deeply, right? So we'll talk about the repeatable element in a minute. No textbook required. I will say I have a lot of content that I want to share with you. and I cannot imagine a single book that has everything in it that I need. So what I've done is, in the resources section, you'll see that there's a document, and we'll look at it in just a second. And I'm basically just, whenever I find a cool link to something that I think would be helpful, I'm putting it in that document. And it's enormous. Like, it's like a 15-page document right now of nothing but links. It's a live document, which means I can still continue to put more stuff in there. I will, throughout the semester, be pulling some of those things out and putting them in the news section when they pertain to a specific thing that we're covering in class today, or that day. So there's actually two things I'm going to pull out and put into the news section at the end of this class that pertains to what else we're going over after we're done with the syllabus part. So a couple of things you'll need: some headphones, microphone, camera. Again, I don't like forcing people to turn their camera on. That seems, it feels invasive a little bit. But at the same time, I would strongly encourage it. I would really ask to please turn it on when you get a chance. Okay, just got a message from Katie. She said Zoom's crashing. I'm recording the video as well. If it doesn't come through, you'll have it that way as well. Let me tell her that. So like, more than anything is, I really started to see like a decline in, like morale throughout the semester, which I want to talk about that a little bit toward the end of this semester as well. So, or the end of this class as well. So, being able to be active in the class, to be able to chat, like I can ask you questions. All of those things are, I think, really keeps people feeling like they're engaged in this group, in this class. Bless you. And so because of that, like, if you can turn on your camera, if you feel comfortable turning on your camera, that would be awesome. Thank you. If you can't, I understand. I've totally been in very important meetings that I was running late for, so I didn't have the time to take a shower. And I'm like, you know what? That camera's just not coming on today. And so I get it, right? Like, so I'm not going to force you, but I would strongly kind of encourage you to, if you can be active in it in that way, it'll be helpful. A couple of things. A lot of times, some people don't because of technical reasons. Like maybe you don't have a webcam, your computer doesn't have one, and I understand that. The same with a microphone. A lot of people don't have a microphone. Recognize your phone. You can log into a Zoom meeting twice, right? We had Glenn from my previous class did that. He was basically logged in through his phone and through his computer, and he was using his phone as his camera and microphone, and then his computer was so he could see what I was sharing on the screen or what we were talking about, right? And that's absolutely fine if you want to do it that way. It's actually even set up in a way that if you just need your phone as a microphone, you can call in and then merge the two accounts so it looks like you're just logged in once. It's more work than is necessary, but but you know what I'm trying to say. So, other things you need: a sketchbook. That's less for this class and more of just life advice. You need a sketchbook. You should own a sketchbook. Really you're going to want ways of getting your ideas down quickly. I recognize some people are going to be sketching on the computer. Maybe you have a Cintiq or something like that, a tablet, an iPad or something. But some way to quickly visually communicate your ideas is important, especially in terms of posing. A lot of people will do thumbnails for posing, or just analyzing a pose, right? Sync Sketch account. So what is that? Let me, Sync Sketch is this video where you can, or this website where you can upload a video and then you share the link with people and they can draw on that video, they can make comments on specific points in the timeline, and they can give you lots of feedback on that video. And in fact, multiple people can do it at the same time. It's like you can share it with 20 people, they can all give you your feedback, And then you just have all of your feedback on that video, on top of that video. It's a really nice way of giving people critique. So it's a free account. It's a little bit of a limited account, the free one is. But all the limitations are pretty reasonable. Like it's like how many videos you can upload a week and stuff like that. And I've never really seen anybody who had a major issue with having more than one, or with having the free Sync Sketch account. So, and then finally, you're going to need some way of transferring your files, right? You need a thumb drive. Somebody was asking earlier. I think OneDrive works really well if you think you're going to be working on multiple computers, because you can log into OneDrive on another computer, and it syncs everything to that computer, and then you just have all of your files with you there. It's nice, but everybody's going to have to sort of figure out what works best for them. And if you need some advice on that, I can chat with you. We can come up with some ideas. So, okay. Email me. Attendance, participation. I do take attendance in this class, even though it's online. I recognized even before COVID, I recognized that not taking attendance means people started to phase out and stopped taking it as seriously, and that meant that other people would come into a half-empty class, and it would just feel like it just sucked the morale out of the entire room, right? And so I started taking attendance that way more than anything, just to kind of keep people like, I get it. This semester is going to go on. You're going to get tired. And at some point, you're going to roll over in bed and be like, I should just skip Marlowe's class, right? Knowing that there's an attendance policy makes it a little easier for me to be like, never mind, I'll get up. I'm going, right? And it just kind of, I actually wish I could just say, no, I don't have one. Particularly in this semester, though. Okay, Katie's crashed. I think she's having internet issues. So that's one of the reasons for the attendance policy. Of course, I'm pretty open if you're having extenuating circumstances. Like, I'm not going to be like, like if you have a death of a loved one, you have like illness, stuff like that. Like, I understand, and we can work with that. But as the attendance policy is you have two days that you can miss without any issue. Every day after that reduces your grade by a letter grade, because if you think about it, you've missed a week of class at that point, right? By the time you've missed 6, that's like missing 3 weeks of class. But basically, it drops a letter grade every time after 2, and so you at that point can't, like, mathematically can't pass the class because you've missed so many grades that your letter grade is too low, or so many days that your letter grade is too low. So, so this is just sort of ETSU's policy. So assignment and submission guidelines. This is really, all of my classes are broken up similarly in that all the things you turn in fall into one of 2 categories. They're either a project or a homework. Projects are worth 70% of your grade, and they're usually something that would take you multiple weeks to complete, right? Homework is something that maybe you would just do overnight or maybe a couple of class periods, and it's worth 30% of your grade. Okay? So exercises fall into the homework category. Some of the mentoring things that we'll be talking about a little bit later also fall into the homework category. So there are some discussions, and they are not necessarily graded. They're there as a tool for you, but we'll talk about how to use that. And then finally, the testing policy. I don't have it. We're not going to be giving very many tests, but there are. I have in the past had quizzes in this class where it's basically like a live, like, do this now and turn that in, and that would sort of count as a quiz. I don't think any of that is currently planned for this semester, but things may change. If so, that would fall into a homework grade as well. Later missing submission. Okay. Caffeine. So, for those of you who have had me in a class before, this is familiar. If you haven't, so the way I usually set up all of my classes is sort of based off of fairness to everyone who works hard to get stuff turned in on time, right? Everybody knows the deadline. They put a lot of work into it. If one person comes in and says, "Oh yeah, I didn't get around to that. Can I just turn it in next class period?" If I said yes, all of those other people should be really mad, right? Like, why did they have to work that hard to get it done on time? I've tried to come up with a lot of different ways to make this more equitable for people who may have issues. Like, things may come up, whatever. Really, the thing that I have sort of settled on is this idea that something has to be turned in at the due date, right? But if you turn in something on the due date, even if it's incomplete, even if it's just barely started, you've turned something in, right? And you're going to get a grade for that, but you can revise that grade as many times as you want to, right? So if you let's say something's due, there's something due a week from now, right? And you turn it in and it's really bad, right? And you get a D on it, right? But you turned it in, then I'll allow you to return that in over and over and over again until you've raised that all the way up to an A if you want to, right? And what that means is everybody turns in something, revisions are infinite, right? Or, within the finite limitations of time. So having said that, there are still some uncontrollable situations. I've had people who have had car wrecks on the way to class, and they're like, "I'm sorry, I had it. I was coming. I just, I got into a fender bender and I couldn't make it." And I'm like, "That's cool. Email it to me as soon as you get home." "Hey Greg, I'm here. Sorry for being late." "That's cool. Thanks, Talon. You've heard similar syllabi in the past, so you didn't miss anything super important yet. That's different." So I think the key to all of this is making sure you're communicating with me as often as possible. I think that's just a good rule in general, because last semester and really the last 2 semesters, it's very easy for students to just kind of phase out, right? Like, they just sort of stop showing up. They, slowly my class gets a little bit smaller, and then they'll contact me like a week before class is over and be like, "Hey, here's what's been going on. Let me tell you so I can kind of get caught back up." And I'm like, if you just kind of catch me up on the way, we can make this easier for you, right? I may have solutions, I may have options, I may have things that would be beneficial for you, that allow you to not have that stressful end of that semester, right? Like, maybe it's something as simple as being like, "Oh, it's okay, I'm not really going to grade the rendering on that, just turn it in as a play blast," and that fixes all of your problems with that project. You never know until you're kind of communicating with me. So if you're having an issue on anything, contact me and I can help you work it out in some way, right? Grading policies.
Can I ask a really quick question about attendance before you move on?
Absolutely.
What if you have a full-time job and it's really hard to get every Tuesday and Thursday off to make the meeting?
So, are you? When do you graduate?
Hopefully in spring of next year.
Okay. What? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. One of the things I really try to impress on people is, if this is what I know that there's really not a lot of options. Like, sometimes people are just like, "I have to, this is the job I have." They insist I work on that. that makes it really hard if, like, are you like 40 hours a week?
I haven't fully found out yet. I've got like 7 interviews lined up in the next 2 days. I'm just trying to get whatever I can right now.
Yeah. Um, so I would say try to, if character animation is what you're wanting to do, I mean, I know this is easier said than done, but you don't want like, you know, your a Kroger job like ruining that for you forever, right? I think what I would try to do is like, you know, prioritize the class as much as you can if that's what you're wanting to, if and that kind of goes for everybody in whatever class you're in, right? If you're in game design, like this is kind of the opportunity you have to make that last push for game design, or for animation or whatever. And so I recognize that like it can be like let me know once you have your schedule, and like we can try to see what we can figure out in terms of like if you have to miss a Thursday here or there. Like there's another section of this class that's right before this one, and I've had people before who like their schedules like mixed up a lot, and they would bounce back and forth between which class they actually showed up to. So I mean, we may be able to come up with something like that. But I guess my sort of more of my advice at large is that like prioritize like your future goals. Like it's very easy for I see people do this a lot to where they're you know, like even if it's just like your English teacher yells louder than I do, so you prioritize the project for your English class. But then when it's all said and done, like you just have this one class to get good at that thing that you want to do, and you don't want to waste that opportunity. So that would be my 2 cents about it. But I know it's not always that simple. Like people need jobs,
I mean,
people need you know, those things. But yeah, let me know, and we can see what I can help you work out.
okay.
But hopefully they like. I would say this is also just my thoughts. If you're a student and you're applying to a job and you tell them I'm a student, and they say, well, you need to miss class to come to your job, that sounds like a really crappy job. I would really consider getting a different one.
I'm trying to find a place that'll let me take Tuesday and Thursday off, but I mean, rent's going to be due eventually, so.
Yeah. No, I get you. Like, let me know. We can work with it. But yeah, hopefully that's something you can work out. Let me know what your schedules are too. Yeah, we'll chat about that as you sort of start to narrow it down a little bit. But yeah, I know it's tough. Okay, grading policy. I pretty much just copy this out of ETSU's. Oh, cool, DoorDash. I didn't know about that. So I've heard mixed reviews on some of the delivery things, but that's cool to hear. That's grading policy, A through F. This is just the standard breakdown of how that works. Usually the only thing I usually comment on here is a C is not an insult and an A is not your birthright. Like it's not, like a lot of people, this is usually more of an issue like at the freshman level. They're really used to getting an A on everything, and then this is something that's really challenging, and suddenly they get a B plus and get really confrontational about it. So recognize that like the point of these grades is to help you know where the quality of your work is and how you want to improve. Okay. So yeah, B plus is not a bad grade. But the way that revision system works shows that if you turn it in and you get like a C plus, right? You recognize that this scale is just something for you to climb, right? Like by doing a revision on that C plus work, you may bring it up to a B. And then I give you some more feedback and you do another revision and you bring it up to an A. Right? That is totally why that's structured that way, is that really the level of polish and the level of work you are able to put into it is very much in your hands on how much effort and time you can put into it. So one of the typos is that I left in an old schedule in here, an old schedule, like 2019. Like this one's 2 years old, which basically means everybody's late on all the projects right now. Just want to let you know. No, I'll fix this. I just wish this didn't have to be in there at all, but as part of the like standardized syllabus, they want a schedule in there. I usually put the schedule separately, and that is in D2L, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The rest of this is a lot of ETSU resources, like help desk, how to get Office software, syllabus attachments. It's got a lot of addresses and phone numbers and stuff for you. One of the things I would, is not on here yet, but I will be getting soon. I know our students are very, our students have a lot of stress on them, digital media students do. I don't know if that's the project-based nature of this, if we're pushing them harder than other majors. I don't know what that is, but we have a lot of people who are very familiar with the counseling center. And the counseling center came to us about that, and they said, hey, your students are obviously very stressed. We would like to set up this system called Let's Talk, which is basically just these open like walk-in sessions you can do with a counselor from ETSU's counseling center. And it can be about anything. You can just go in there and chat about how much, your parents annoy you, or how much Marlo's giving you too much homework, or like whatever serious issues that are very bothersome for you. It's just open time to where you don't have to try to arrange an appointment. You can just walk in during a certain time. I don't know what those times are for this semester, but they've set them up in the past. And as soon as I have those, I'll post those on D2L. But recognize that there's a lot of resources like that. And if at any point this gets, like, you have stuff that is out of control. Like John, you were even talking about the work thing. Like, maybe there's some alternate financial aid options for you, or some scholarships or something that may make you only have to work part-time or something like that. Like, whenever there is something like that, like, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like, I can help you. If I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can, in order to like try to make this a little bit more of a manageable situation for you.
I definitely second that statement, because it, no jokes. It's just that it's very important to value your mental stability, especially in a creative field like what we're trying to do, because it's very impossible to try to expect to perform at your best when you're not even doing that well emotionally. So I urge y'all, please don't underestimate the counseling tools and departments and all that. Try to reach out to them. You'd be surprised how much it's going to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever just need to chat, I mean, I'm not a counselor, but I'll listen, and at the very least, I'll maybe try to help you find somebody who can address. Well, I guess at the very least, I'm there to listen, and you got it off your chest. At the very most, maybe I can help you find somebody who actually knows what they're doing. So yeah, feel free to reach out at any point. And I think I can speak for all the faculty in that regard. I think that we're actually I think we're very fortunate that the current faculty is very open and inviting in that way. Even if it's somebody you don't, I know Todd sometimes scares some people off, and apparently Marty is intimidating to people. I never get that, but really, it's
Fitzgerald or Henley?
Yeah, Fitzgerald.
Really?
Yeah, Marty Fitzgerald intimidated me at first. It took a while to get used to him.
I don't know if he still is, but as of last week, he was growing a beard, and I was like, yeah, I liked it. So
I can understand that, but Fitzgerald is very or at least when I got to know him, he was very he he was a very cuddly guy. He knew he knew my name when I went to tour of the campus. Like,
I'm lowering my desk. I'm getting tired of standing. John, if my head's too low, like wave me down if if you can't see me. Okay, there we go. Did Katie ever make it back in? I know she was messaging me about it. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Well, I'll send her this video afterward. So, so that's the syllabus. Worked real hard on it for you. Still messed up a bunch of spots. Anyway, as you've probably heard teachers say before, your syllabus is kind of like it's like the agreement of what the class is going to be. In the past, there was actually it was kind of like you're signing a contract. There was a syllabus receipt form that you had to sign and give back to the teacher. I still like to do some version of that just so we all know we're on the same page, and if I tried to change the class dramatically, you could hold me accountable to it. Be like, that's not what I signed up for with this syllabus receipt. And at the same time, you can't come back and be like, hey, I thought you were going to teach me how to sculpt in ZBrush. I'm like, I never said that. So this is sort of the agreement of that is in this syllabus receipt, right? Is this saying, you've read it, you know what it says, even though there's a couple typos, I'm going to fix those, and I'll re-upload that. But basically that's what this syllabus receipt form is. I've managed to sort of double dip on this and include some other things in here, some other information that is helpful for me. So which section of the class you're in, obviously, your name. In this section here, if the name you want to go by is different than the name that I might have in the grade book, just let me know either here or at the bottom down here. Is there anything else I need to know? You can let me know there. And please let me know if I've been pronouncing your name incorrectly. I had one student who didn't tell me until she was in portfolio that I was calling her the wrong thing this whole time. And so let me know, it's pronounced this way, Marlo. Are you a digital media major minor? Sorry, what, Ramona?
you were so sweet, Greg. Oh my God.
So this is the other thing, is you're repeating this class for credit. First time, second time, third time, other. I will say, sometimes you're repeating it a second time, but still in character animation 1, maybe you had to drop out early or you failed it or whatever. That's just so I know where everybody's at, right? I would be interested to know how you plan to attend the class, primarily in person, primarily online, mix of both. Other, I don't know what the other could be, but you're going to join via seance. How do you plan to complete your work? This is more just so I know technical specs wise, what I can expect. If everybody's working on their home computer, maybe we scale back some of the rendering or something like that. You can check all that applies though, because I realize that there's a chance that you all have a mixed version of how you're planning on doing this class. Are you graduating this semester? That's a big one, because that means if you are, you're probably in portfolio, and what you're actually creating in this class can possibly be directly applied straight into portfolio. Especially if you're repeating this class, then this may be a way we can sort of balance what your projects are in here to most benefit you and portfolio. It also lets me know, maybe you're not, maybe this is your first time through, but it's still the first time you've taken character animation, and I need to know, what do we hit the hardest? What do we have to make sure that your pieces are very solid in, because that's going to be in your portfolio. Is this your first time having me as a teacher? And then finally, just checking this that says you received it. Anything else you want me to know? Whether it's I don't know, like I said, maybe you like to go by a different name. Maybe you, is there a certain learning thing that I can help with? Is there a, I've had people before who, particularly in the live sections of the class, I've been like, I really need to be able to set up front so I can see the monitor better or the screen better, like things like that. Anything else you think I might need to know, just put it in there. I'm not going to be sharing this with anybody. However, I will say this right here, this first time, second time, third time, I use this to make sure I can break up the groups for mentoring better. So just make sure that part's filled out correctly so I know who's in which group. So please do this by the end of class today. Now is actually also a good time to do it.
I'm not saying now, but do it now.
Do it now, yeah. But that way I have it so I can be setting up that stuff by next class period. So, okay. So let's look at our schedule really briefly. I will point out that if you've taken this class before, you'll recognize that I've changed this a little bit. Actually, I've changed some of the requirements for the projects, tried to simplify some stuff. I've tried to make stuff even a little easier to do, like smaller projects than they were before. A big note on that is the game design project now only has 3 animations in it that are required. We're taking out the punch, and then the punch will be more of a bonus that we can implement later if we want to. More than anything, just so we can try to get a more refined run cycle and jump animation, because I think trying to squeeze 4 animations in means you end up sacrificing a little bit on all 4 of them. We're also not just jumping straight into project 1. We're going to start off with a small exercise. And that's what we're going to be doing the second half of today is sort of looking at the details of that exercise. You'll also notice where you see this like M1, M2, those are milestones, and those are like check-in dates where you will turn some stuff in and we'll kind of look at them. And those milestone dates are maybe not all the time, but potentially gradable, right? We'll kind of see how it's going, like how much progress we're making, before we decide if it's a turned in grade. As it is right now, I'm marking them all as an exercise and then just sort of reserving the option to drop one of those if it's feeling like we're running a little behind and we need a little extra work time or something like that. So kind of look through this. A couple of things to note this semester. There's no spring break. If you haven't looked at the academic calendar, it's weird. It's really weird. Basically, instead of spring break, they've just peppered in all of these 1-2 day breaks throughout the entire semester. Yeah, so that's what you're seeing. Like pretty much every month, there's either a 1 day break or a 2 day break of this entire semester. The only 2 that really fall on days of this class is February 18th and March 16th. I think there's another one around Easter, and I think maybe another one in late April as well. I can't remember. But yeah, check the academic calendar to see all of them. But it's basically, we just have a whole bunch of short breaks throughout the entire semester, which actually may work out better because what that means is we're not losing a whole week right there at the end of the semester. That often like kind of kills the momentum a little bit. And instead what we're getting is these little respites all throughout the semester. I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting experiment. We'll see how this turns out. Hopefully well. I think the big thing though is this means no spring break COVID edition that ends up like wiping out the whole university. And so I think that's probably more of the reason that they're doing that. Okay, so already mentioned all the Zoom links. So let's briefly hop. Oh, interesting. So this just let us scroll down to the resources. Couple of things I wanted to point out. I've pulled a couple of rigs out into a OneDrive folder. And I'm just going to do this for a couple of assignments just to say these are some good rigs for this assignment. These are the ones I've pulled out so far for the thing that we're going to be doing in the second half of class today, the step to the side. All of these work pretty good. The one I was using earlier, she's in a terrible pose right now, is just a female. It's just called woman rig. This is one of the Truong rigs. And so all of this is something that I'll be using later. But if you want to follow along, you can also grab one of those rigs as well. And I'm going to go ahead and be doing that with other rigs throughout the semester. If there's specific rigs I want to give you, that just felt like a nice way to just toss those in there so you don't have to go digging and like send your email to some place to get access to the rig or whatever. However, not all the projects will force you to use those rigs. You may have some options. And so you'll also notice under resources, I have this animator's resource kit. This is just a great website. It's got a lot of different stuff in here, stuff about software. There's a whole rigs section where you can just scroll through. This will have free and not so free rigs, like rigs that are, maybe $10, $25 or something like that. And some of those are really good, like the what are they at here? The David and Dana rigs. Those are excellent rigs, but I think that I want to say they're like $12 each. Come on. So many clicks. 15, yeah. So, if you want to spend a little bit of money on another rig, there's some options in there as well. But Animator's Resource Kit it's a great website, and I wanted to kind of link you into that. The other thing I wanted to mention, that giant list of links that I've been saving, I'm like everybody, I'm on multiple social media accounts. So, okay. Saying that one isn't working. Okay. So Michael's made us a comment there. But there's multiple, so, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and following all these animators on different places. Everybody shares these really cool things. Sometimes those things are trapped on Facebook. And I know that a lot of you are just like, I don't want to be on that social media. I don't want to be on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram yet or whatever. So I've collected all of them in here. Recognize that some of them may not work. Like you may have to be logged in on Facebook to see a certain link or something. As you see those, if you see one that is this one doesn't work, but I'm curious what it is, tag it like that, like Michael did, make a comment, or send me an email and I'll try to if nothing else, I can rip it from Facebook through my nefarious ways and host it some other place for you, right? But I think most of these, this is trial and error. Here's an Instagram one. I don't know if it'll work or not. Click on it and see. A lot of these will, though. A lot of them are just Vimeo links, YouTube links, and there's some really good stuff in here. But it's page after page after page after page of stuff. And I've tried to break it up into categories that may be helpful, like creature animation. People who are repeating the class and wanting to do some creature animation stuff. Here's a whole bunch of stuff about that. Ramona, here's your 2D animation section. Got you a couple pages of interesting stuff there that you may have already seen before. All the way at the bottom, I have some guest speakers from previous classes that I've taught, where I've basically invited guest speakers into those classes. I forgot I left this in there. These are bad animation references. This is basically people who are shooting their own animation reference, and it's terrible. And we'll actually be looking at some of that here in a little bit later, because it's just having stood up and filmed yourself doing a thing doesn't mean that what you shot was valuable reference, right? And these are some examples of people who are doing a terrible, terrible job at it, and some stuff to be thinking about while you're shooting animation reference. So lots of resources in here. I recognize that one of the big problems with the sort of the situation we're in right now, is that you are probably getting content overload right now, right? It's like your English class is like, hey, I want you to watch 15 hours of videos every week. And you're like, right? I'm going to try and not do that, even though I just sent you 20 pages of random links of videos. This is not required, right? But what I will do is some of these are really great examples to things that we're talking about in class, and I'll maybe pull out a few of them here and there, and I'll post those in the news section. If you go to Course Home, I'll just put those in here throughout the week. A lot of times I'll try to do it the day of our lecture. So like after lecture today, I'm going to put 2 links in here for you to look at from that longer list. Having said that, I would strongly encourage you to follow these top 4 things here. I didn't really talk about Agora Community in last class, but it's really just a place that aggregates helpful animation information. Like it's a whole bunch of these people here. It's got a bunch of them like making videos that are custom for that. They're the ones who do the frame-by-frame animation analysis. They also sell animation critiques, basically. Like you can sign up for feedback sessions for people, and it's actually relatively reasonable. It's like $15 or something to get like a professional animator to review your work. Anyway, these 3 people here, Sir Wade, Kenny Roy, and JD Haas, they are all 3 animators who make a lot of animation videos, and I strongly, strongly recommend you watch as many of these as you can. Just whenever you have some free time, sit down, watch these videos. Like if you're one of those people who like leaves videos playing in the background while you're working, these are great. Kenny Roy like used to own his own animation company. He's worked at a lot of amazing places, but he's a really good teacher. Sir Wade's very charismatic and has great technique or great theoretical concepts. Like he talks about the ideas of animation a lot. And this JD Haas guy, he's actually one of the ones I'm going to give you a reference for in today's lecture. So, he works at ILM, or he worked at ILM. I think he still works there. Okay. So, and then there's those other Discord links if you're wanting to check those out. Okay. I'm not going to dive through all of the assignments. I do want to look at a couple of things under assignments. First, this first section, submissions, that's where you'll be turning stuff in. And I basically will just make new folders in here. That's where you'll upload your files, right, when it's time to turn in a project. I've also got some discussion boards in here, and that's places where you can share like works in progress when you're meeting with your mentors and when you're getting feedback from your peers and stuff. I basically just put a discussion board for every project in here. I can make additional discussion boards if you need some for specific things. This is not something that's being graded. This is just open discussion boards for you to use as part of your communication in class. So let's say you're wanting some feedback from somebody. You can say, hey, could you give me some feedback? I put the link to my sync sketch in the PR1 feedback folder or discussion board, and then they can go look at that and pull up the links. It's really just a place for you to dump stuff when you're wanting to have conversations. Okay, the reason this is actually pretty, those discussions are important is because there's a system I have in place in here for mentors and mentees, which my last class confirmed for me, mentee is actually a real word. I didn't just make that up. If you're taking the class for the first time, this is your first time in character animation, you're a mentee, right? You're being mentored by somebody who has taken the class more than once, right? And so that's one of the reasons I had you fill out that form, is because I will use that information to sort of designate groups within the class, and each of those groups will have mentors and mentees. I will say this is a section of the class that is very heavily loaded toward people who are taking it for the first time. So that means the mentors, I may be stretching y'all a little thin at times here. And so if that's the case, that's one of the reasons to fill that out. I'll look at it, and it may be that we have like rotating mentors, and I'm one of the mentors as well or something. I'll see what we can do on that. I just want to make sure that it's not like each person has to give 10 people feedback every day. That's a little extreme. But this is how this will work. And of course, those discussion boards are where you could post stuff for your mentors to be able to see. Essentially, how this is a graded element of participation in this class. So basically, how that's going to work is after every project, I'm going to have you all tell me how your mentors and mentees did, right? and that will play a role into the grade I give, right? Like, let's say Dylan is like, yeah, this person never showed up, they never turned in anything, and then I go look in the discussion boards and they turned in, one thing or something like that, and I'll use that to sort of help determine what participation grade everybody gets for that. Vice versa, if everybody's like, hey, I kept asking Dylan for advice and he never answered me, and like even when he did, he's like, get lost, like, then Dylan gets a poorer participation grade on that. I'm picking on you, Dylan. I know you're fine. I'm not concerned about that. I will say this is going to be interesting though, because I think that again we're a little light on people repeating the class this semester, which is weird because my other class was mostly people repeating the class. So they have too many mentors. We don't have enough. And that might be.
How many mentors are there?
I think just 2. Is it you, Ramona? Am I missing anybody else?
I'm also retaking.
Just okay.
Oh, that's all we need. We're good.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
If it's
we're
3,
fine.
okay. That's right.
I'm trying to see. Do you know where the list of who's mentors and who's mentees
I haven't
is?
put those together yet because like names run together for not run together. It's like Ramona, I was thinking you had taken the class. I was thinking this is your 3rd time, and it's because I had you in both character animation and 2D animation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, how many times has Ramona been in my class? So like, I didn't, and I don't have anything in D2L to tell me that. That's one of the reasons I made that form. So basically, I'll be coming back with that form next class period.
Okay. I mean, 2D was essentially just character animation too.
That's kind of, yeah, that's it for people who were wanting to do it primarily in 2D, it kind of was, yeah. So those mentor feedbacks and stuff, those will count as part of the homework grades. So that's just, that's why this is listed under assignments. So we do have another exercise that I have listed in here, and I'll start putting those in there as we get more details on which exercises we're doing. But we're starting an exercise today, just a step to the side, like a character taking a step to one side. And we're doing that as, this is a little different than how I used to teach this class, and we'll talk about the details of that a little bit. Well, I will go ahead and read the details to it right now, but we'll talk about the project here in a little bit later. For this exercise, you'll be completing a simple step to the side. This is to practice weight, balance, timing, posing, splining, polish, and timing. Yes, I said timing twice. It's because it's important, maybe? I don't know. It's actually an accident. All of these are building blocks of what is to come. This short exercise should help us ramp up to for Project 1 and shake some of the animation rust off. This thing is just filled with typos. Come on, Greg. Get your game face on. Play blast.
It's a common fact that animators don't know how to spell, so you're just fitting the stereotype.
I just willy-nilly slap the keyboard and hope something comes out. Anyway, but this is basically going to be due about a week from now, or a week from today, so Thursday or Tuesday the 26th. So today we'll look at some of the physics behind it, talk about some of the poses, and then we're going to have another day to continue to work on it, and I'll walk you through some polish and talk about posing a little bit more. And then by the end of that, we'll have an exercise in body mechanics that should really help make Project 1 better. I'm hoping that is one of the reasons to do this. If I go back to content. So under our assignments, we also have project lists and the project briefs. I will tell you the project briefs are the detailed write-ups for each project if you're taking the class for the first time. I'm not going to go through all those, but those are there for you to read. And these are altered a little bit from what you may have seen in the past if you've taken this class before. I will tell you that basically what I've tried to do is make these more manageable. Some of the projects were like 10-second time limit. I've shortened them to like 7-second time limits and stuff like that. So what is interesting here though is each class, depending on how many times you've taken it, has a different list of projects that are required. So if this is your first time in the class, it's pretty simple. Project 1's a body mechanics project. Project 2 is a game animation set. I recognize not everybody wants to do video games. There are reasons to do this exercise anyway, because basically this game animation set is just 3 short body mechanics pieces, right? The first 2 projects are a little bit more based off of physicality. The second 2 projects are based off of acting, right? So we got pantomime acting as project 3, this is acting without audio. And then project 4 is a lip sync or an audio acting piece. So, any questions on these? I would say take a little time if you can and go read ahead at some of the project briefs, and you'll start to see sort of what we're going for. But we'll talk about these in detail as we get to them. So, okay, so our project lists. That was if you're taking it for the first time. If you're taking it for the second time, and this is important for everybody to see because you may be taking it for a second time later, there's a whole bunch of other things you can elaborate on, right? Like maybe you want to do somebody climbing a wall or a creature run cycle, right? Or possibly you want to do something really cartoony or like a quadruped animation of some sort. The only thing that is required, like you kind of build your own list if you're repeating the class based off of what you want to focus on, right? The only required project is at least one of your, well, not at least, one of your projects must be a revision of a project from a previous class or personal project, okay? So that means basically the art of revising something is something we're going to practice in the repeating class. So you can pick whichever piece you want. This actually becomes very important. And one of the reasons I implemented this in is because a lot of people who are repeating this class are in portfolio or going to be in portfolio soon, right? And that's really what that whole class is about going back and revising your old pieces and pulling them up in terms of quality. So you'll notice that some of these may count as 2 projects, right? Like a fight between 2 people. You may be able to count that as 2 projects if it's complex enough. And so if that's something you're wanting to do, let me know. But basically what that means is you would have twice the amount of time to work on that, and your grade for that would take up 2 grades, right? Which is both good and bad, because if you do poorly on it, you get 2 bad grades. If you do really good on it, you get 2 good grades. So, but basically, if you looked at the schedule, it may be that you would be doing that project for project 1 and project 2, or project 2 and project 3. What I would like to do is this project right here, the revision project, works best around project 3. And the reason for that is by that point, you have already presented at midpoint if you are also in portfolio class. Not midpoint, like the midterm portfolio presentation. You've already presented at that point, and you get to then take whichever piece was looking good on your portfolio but needed some revision and pull that up, and it ends up being kind of double dipping on portfolio then, right? It doesn't mean you have to do it then, but that's when I prefer to do it. What I would like you all to do, though, is if you're repeating this class, look through this list of animations, and by next class period, I'd like you to come back with a rough idea of what it is you're wanting to do. The reason for that is because a lot of the lectures are currently targeted at people who are taking the class the first time, right? And right now, I would love to be able to organize, based off of what you're planning on doing, organize those in a way that I could start giving some additional lectures to people who are taking it the second time and the third time, okay? So start kind of coming up with your list. I'm not, I'll allow if you like change your mind halfway through and you're like, oh, I didn't think of this. I want to do this instead. Like we can still adjust it, but I'd like you to have a plan for the class by next class period. So.
And it's still a total of 4 projects, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Pretty much anytime the other class or the first class has a project due, that's your time period too. So you may want to look at those windows. Like some of the projects are a little shorter than the others. Like the game design project is a little shorter than it used to be. And so you may decide like, ooh, this one would be easier. I should put that during week 2 or during project 2 or something like that. So I don't think anybody's taking this class for the third time, are they? I don't think so. If they are, I have no idea what you like. This is really at this point you have focused enough to where you could come up with your own idea, right? And so I've had like one guy one semester who was taking it the third time had this plan of he was doing a whole sequence of shots with a dragon that would include both acting and body mechanics. And so it was going to be like a dragon, like, you know, sitting on the ground, having this lip sync conversation, and then he stands up, he walks, he jumps up on a box, and then he flies away, all while talking, right? And he's going to be basing it off of this really long line from a movie. And I was like, that would be awesome. But basically, his entire semester was going to be one enormous shot, right? And that one enormous shot would have made up his entire demo reel. I was like, that's a great idea. Unfortunately, he ended up having to withdraw that semester. And so he did about half of that. And it was really cool. I hope he comes back soon and finishes that up. So really, like, by the time you're taking it the third time, you can, like, I trust for you to come up with your own animation idea that fulfills your portfolio needs the most, right? Okay. Again, I don't know if I really said this. All the different projects that we're looking at for people who are taking it the first time, all of these are eligible for 2D animation. And all of them on the advanced list, I think, are too. There may be a couple that were more technically specific about being 3D. But if you decide, like, if 2D animation is what you're wanting to do, absolutely. You are welcome to do any of these projects in 2D. The one that gets complicated is the game set. Because I can walk you through how to make a 2D animation game set or a 3D animation game set in Unreal. Doing it in 2D requires some different engine skills or different engine entirely. Like, I would probably encourage you to do it in Construct. Yeah, Dylan, I think you did yours in 2D, didn't you?
Yeah, I did mine in Construct, and I did like that little cinematic thing for it. So if anyone wants to do that, I can show you some basic stuff.
Yeah.
I also did the same thing too, of doing a construct game.
Yeah.
Not to throw myself under the bus, but it wasn't as good as Dylan's, but it was because I was really struggling. I don't like doing game sets, but I can still teach you how to do it.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So that was really the holdup for a long time, but all the others, like if 2D animation is what you want to do, cool, let's do it. All right. Where are we at? Is that everything? Yes. I'll tell you what. We're going to talk a little bit after this about that homework assignment we were talking about, the step to the side. I kind of have a lecture sort of set up for that. And I have a little bit of I don't know if pet talk's the right word. I feel like there's a conversation we need to have, right? Like it's just this is a crazy year. Let's talk. I decided to kind of save that to the end because it's a little bit like, it's also half like motivational speech. And that feels like a better place to end this than like, let me give you a motivational speech. Now open Maya. So, but I'm sure all of y'all are like, your legs are numb and you're like thirsty and you need more coffee. So let's take like a 5-minute break, maybe 10. It's 3:37. How about we come back at 3:47? And that'll give us a chance to kind of stretch and, run to the restroom or whatever, and we'll pick it up from there. Sounds good? I'm also going to go ahead and stop the video recording right now and break this up into 2 videos. So, all right, cool. I'll see you back here in about 10 minutes.